Alright, in this component spotlight video, I want to take a look at glass, or liquid glass as it's better known. Now, liquid glass is one of the most popular effects in shaders, and it's really easy to use for both 2D effects, 3D effects. It just brings a new level of detail to your compositions, so let's dive in. Right here in my design editor, I have a multi-point gradient and a wave distortion layer. This is just setting a base, something for us to put the glass on top of. So you can see the multi-point gradient is just this color gradient that we have in the background, and the wave distortion is just giving it some motion. I might even up this just a little bit and just give us a little bit more speed so we can see things as they're moving. Maybe I change the wave type to a different type, maybe just sine. There you go. So we have some sort of background that we can see the glass effect through. Now let's pull in the effect. It's under Shape Effects, Glass, and by default you're getting just a circle of glass that gets rendered to the screen. Now this works really well with your own media and images. If I was to drop in one of our sticker layers in here, like just an image that I've uploaded in the past, drop that below glass, and now we can really start to see how the glass refracts our content. Let me go ahead and play with some of the settings and just sort of show you how glass works. So by default, you need to pick a shape, right? So we're using circle. We could also use any 2D shape, like a polygon looks really nice on those hard edges. And we can control, the same way with any other shape effect, we can control those shape parameters. But let's go down into some of the glass specific ones. So first off, you have Fresnel, which is sort of the lighting that appears around the edge of the shape. So in this polygon case, if I bump this up, you'll get a sense of how that feels. It's this white edge which is appearing around the edge, and it's supposed to look like a side lighting almost. So let me go down, increase the softness, and you'll start to feel like almost the glass is either reflecting light right on the edge or it's starting to glow a little bit. It feels like it has some internal glow happening. This works really well with the cutout prop. Now, cutout is available in a bunch of different shape effects, and what this does is says, okay, well, here's the shape, and here's the glass, and we don't want anything outside of that. So if I turn cutout on, now we have liquid glass that we can move around that's going to show its background contents in a way that doesn't have anything outside of the shape. Now, this works well with stacking and with nesting, so if I was to say, okay, I only want the glass to be on this particular image texture, I could drop the image into the glass. It's still cutting out, but it's only cutting out that image, and now we have glass that actually reveals this image as it moves over it. So that's a fun thing to do. Let me drop that image out, and we will get back into playing with some of these properties here. Now, some of the obvious ones that come to mind are going to be the thickness of the glass, like how thick does that look, and how much is it going to refract light. So at a value of 0 for refraction, and let me also just drop this Fresnel down to next to nothing, the glass is basically impossible to see, or it's getting very close to being impossible to see. And as we crank that refraction up, now that edge is actually starting to refract more and more of the content around it. Thickness is going to control just how thick that band of refraction is around the edge of the shape. So if I have that really small, again, we get into a situation where you can still see that, tiny little sliver of glass effect, but it's not the same thing. It's not going to produce a really noticeable effect. If we bump thickness all the way up, well, now we're pulling that band all the way into the center of the shape, and with thickness and refraction here set to max, we get a heavy distortion effect. It's very hard to see content through that in some cases. So that's 2D effects. We also have inner zoom. So what zoom does is says, basically, whatever's inside of that glass shape is going to zoom in or out, and that can help identify, even if you have limited refraction, it helps identify where that glass boundary exists. So if I drop refraction all the way down, I drop thickness all the way down, you've got a very small edge effect, very subtle, and then I increase the zoom, you've almost got a magnifying glass effect going on, right? You can move that around like a magnifying glass, and of course, combining all of these, if we introduce Fresnel, give a little bit of softness, if we crank the refraction up a little bit, crank the thickness up just a little bit, we've got this really nice liquid glass effect that we could deploy to our hero sections. We could use our logo in here. Let me actually quickly show you a couple more of the props, including what a logo and 3D effects might look like. Glass works really well with 3D. If I come down here to aberration, that's going to introduce chromatic splitting between RG and B right at that boundary level. Might be hard to tell in this particular example. We've already talked about in the zoom, we've got light angle, so there is an additional light outside of Fresnel which only applies from one particular direction. So if I was to crank that all the way up here, you'll see it's coming from the top in this particular case. You can control that light angle, the color, and the softness. So if it's a very soft light, it can wrap more around the image. And if it's not, then it's just going to be in that one very particular highlight spot. Let me go ahead, drop that all down, and we'll jump into a 3D effect. So here we have polygon. These are our 2D effects. And now let's take a look at a 3D effect. I'm going to pull up octahedron. That's a fun shape. I'm going to scale that up. I'm going to center that somewhere around there. There you go. And now we have our 3D gizmo. I can rotate this gizmo around and you'll see our glass is refracting at all sorts of different indices, whatever that word is. And we're getting this just nice rotating glass effect. Now I could imagine using dynamic props to animate this smoothly over time, right? Maybe we delete that image underneath, and we just have this nice subtle glass gem that is constantly rotating on top of our composition. You could imagine using this in a hero section. Perhaps we expand this up and just have it fill the right-hand side of the screen. We introduce a little bit more refraction and reduce the thickness maybe a little bit, and maybe even pull the zoom out a little bit until we get something that looks really nice. I'm going to play with that light angle, boost that highlight, reduce that softness until we get something that feels like a nice glass gem that's just rotating in the corner of the screen. Maybe even bring down our ambient background. And now as I play with the multicolor background, you can sort of see how glass is adding to this effect. It's just adding a layer of refraction on top of an existing fun basic gradient. So this is how you could build a cool liquid glass hero section for your website. Literally just grab the glass component from the Shaders component library.